Hello, friends online. I just wanted to have a quick talk about what I recently learned or have been learning off and on, the difference between shame and guilt. And I thought it was really illuminating, and so I kind of just wanted to share that with anyone who may be interested. So I'll start off with the easier one, guilt. And guilt is, though negative at times to experience, I think a very necessary part of the human experience. When we feel guilt, that's us letting ourselves know that we did something wrong and we need to fix it. And so, guilt is an integral part of growing as a human being. The difference then between guilt and shame, guilt says I did something wrong, but shame says I am wrong. And so I thought it was really important to bring up that shame has more to do with our identity. And I think that is where it can become really damaging. Now, obviously, I do think that if we have consistently behaved in an incorrect way, sometimes shame can be a catalyst for change. But a lot of times, I think shame really degrades us and is what causes us to spiral into even more negative behaviors. Because experiencing shame, thinking that we ourselves as an identity are wrong, makes us grasp to prove externally that we are not wrong and we don't need to be ashamed of who we are. And so that compensation is where a lot of maladaptive behaviors begin from, I think. That ego compensation and even narcissistic traits, I believe, truly do stem from a sense of internal shame. When we feel shame inside of ourselves, that's what makes us look outside of ourselves for a feeling that will balance out the internal shame. And so, I don't know, I wanted to share that, and hopefully someone else out there can find it helpful. Whenever we are feeling those feelings and it's difficult for us to distinguish if it's shame or guilt, ask yourself, are my feelings telling me that there's something intrinsically wrong with me, or is it just a certain action I took that I feel bad about? Because if it's just a specific situation or action, most likely that's guilt, and we need to look at that and reflect and see what we really are feeling guilty about, what we did wrong, and how we can fix it, how we can redeem ourselves. And if it's shame, I've found that the best way to combat shame is challenging those shameful thoughts. And it can be really difficult to pull those out from the subconscious, but oftentimes shame will tell us things like, I am not good enough. I can never be good enough. My best isn't enough. I am fundamentally broken, or I'm stupid. All these things that have to do with who we are as a person, our identity, how we see ourselves. And when we have a shameful self-perception, it really does alter our perception of the external. We may be more quick to judge others because we want them to feel the way we feel subconsciously. Or we may feel in competition and very insecure if we're deeply ashamed of ourselves, even if we're not conscious of that shame. And so I feel like, especially too, as someone who grew up being abused by my mother, the emotional abuse was devastating and definitely instilled very strong levels of shame in me, to where I, for many, many, many years, was always wondering what's wrong with me, how do I fix myself, blah, 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 blah. And while it's great to want to improve on the self, having a mindset that there's something wrong or broken with who we are doesn't really help us. At least it didn't help me. It only pushed me into downward spirals. So accepting that I am not fundamentally broken, that maybe I have some things to learn, but that I'm not wrong for existing the way I exist, has really helped me. And cognitive behavioral therapy, I know I talk about this all the time, but it literally saved my life. And so challenging those negative thoughts, like when I'll think, oh my God, I'm so lazy, I'm such a stupid person, catching that in my conscious mind and being like, okay, why do I think I'm lazy when I literally do things every single day, and not just for myself, but for others too? Or why do I think I'm stupid when I am very capable of all the things that get handed to me, and I am capable of things that maybe I haven't even tried, And just really like figuring out where those come from. I think those of us that grew up with abusive parents will find that those voices, those thoughts didn't come from our own voice. They came from what our abusive parent told us about ourselves. And so if we really think about it, should we be, developing identity from someone who would abuse a child? I don't think so. That doesn't make any sense. Why should we value their opinion? And it's really hard, I know. Like, we can know that in our heads, but then to feel something different in our hearts is a struggle. And so I really think that challenging those negative thoughts, something that one of the first exercises I did with my therapist was make a pie chart. Okay, so I have the thought that I'm stupid. What percentage of that is really true? And what constitutes calling someone stupid or, worthless or any of that. And so really working through it, doing the math and figuring out that, like, well, I don't think that, caring for a child means I'm stupid. I think I'm capable in that. And maybe that's 20% of stupidity, or, can I take care of my hygiene needs? Can I work a job? Can I have good friendships? And slowly but surely, the percentage of provable stupidity gets smaller and smaller. And so, I don't know. I think that's a really helpful tool for challenging negative thoughts. So I just wanted to share that with people because I really think that a lot of human to human issues we have are people struggling with subconscious shame, and that leads to projection or over defensiveness, all kinds of things. And on the furthest end of the spectrum, abuse of others, And so I think it's a slippery slope. So really calling that out, naming it as shame, and then combating it consciously is a really great antidote. And so, yeah, I hope everyone has a great day, and I hope you feel a little bit wiser in differentiating between your guilt and your shame. Guilt says I did something wrong and I need to fix it. That's helpful, that's useful, necessary, it's good, right? I mean, it doesn't feel good, but it is good for our growth. Shame inhibits growth, though. It lies to you and tells you, I will never be good enough, I will never be worthy of love. All these things that are just not true if we really, really think about them and ask honestly, like, okay, what percentage of this is true? We find that it's really not that true. So yeah, best of luck in all your endeavors, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.